What's going on, Geminites? It's your boy Gem Mint. With the recent release of the Venom 2 teaser trailer and the announcement of the title, Let There Be Carnage, I thought what better time than to talk about where to start reading Carnage in comic books. So we're going to jump into what I think are the 3 essential books, and really all you need if you want to read Carnage. Before we jump into this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a video, because I still drop daily content. Even through this pandemic, even through quarantine, you're getting a video every day, plus extra live streams. So hit that subscribe. Alright, so this channel is really all about Omnibus, right? However, what you need for essential Carnage reading is this Carnage Classic trade paperback. It's a little bit of a thicker book. I guess it would be kind of like in line with the Marvel Epics, which I don't collect. But this is really the starting point for Carnage. It does collect his first appearances, which is a trilogy, and Amazing Spider-Man 361 through 363. Then you get issue 410, issues 430 through 431. You get the Venom Carnage Unleashed miniseries, which is like kind of a weird, like, early days of the internet kind of story. Carnage Mind Bomb, which Donny Cates said was a huge inspiration for his Absolute Carnage story. Carnage It's a Wonderful Life. This is the 90s goodness, the first appearance of Cletus Kasady becoming the symbiote Carnage. I think you even get a little cameo of, what issue is that? Amazing Spider-Man 344, I think? And I think it's the first appearance of Cardiac as well. Anyway, let's flip through some of this awesome 90s material. This is probably some of my favorite Carnage stuff. Alright, so the cover of the Carnage Classic trade paperback is a modernized look at Amazing Spider-Man 362. I really like this. Mark Bagley is my favorite Spider-Man artist, my favorite Venom and Carnage artist. I love the way he does the teeth here and the lip, the Carnage look, which he created. Here goes the spine of Classic Carnage. You get your little Carnage on the bottom. And then here is the back. Let's see what we have just flipping through here. So here is, yep, I was right, from Amazing Spider-Man 344, the first appearance of Cletus Kasady, sharing a jail cell with Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock gets breaking out of the jail cell by the Venom symbiote, who he was separated from. And what we thought at the time is that a little piece of the symbiote stayed behind. Later on, it was retconned that the Venom symbiote actually spawned its first offspring, which was the Carnage symbiote. And when it bonded with this crazy serial killer, it became something evil, and it brought on Carnage. So that was the first actually, this is the first cameo appearance of Carnage as well. And then you have the first full appearance and first cover appearance of Carnage on Amazing Spider-Man 361. Mark Bagley artwork. And here we go. This is the stuff that you remember, the stuff that video games were made out of in the 90s. Iconic panels that are very recognizable. You gotta love the Carnage rules graffiti. Let's show the cover of 362. Here it is. So here's the original 90s version. Here's the more updated version, different colors. Well, yeah, it looks like it's recolored. They actually have a second print of this one and the previous issue, which has like a silver background. I used to have both of those graded in a 9.8. I loved Spider-Man and Venom team-ups as a kid. This was just so fun for me, man. And I realized that I like a lot of this stuff based out of nostalgia, but hey, that's the stuff I grew up on. So Carnage Unleashed has a really awesome cover, which you guys have seen kind of redone for like thumbnails and such. So I think it's issue 3 or 4 of Carnage Unleashed, which is like a cheap kind of video game themed series where he lives in the internet, he lives in virtual reality, and he's not getting royalties off this video game or whatever. Yeah, so it's issue 3. That is one of my favorite Venom covers of all time. Look at this, man. Ripping the... And I think they even recreated this in the first Venom movie, actually. Here goes Carnage Mind Bomb. This was like... The Mind Bomb and It's a Wonderful Life were freaky-ass comics, man. They really kind of messed me up as a kid, because I was used to, you know, the issues that we were just seeing, which were kind of like, you know, fun, campy issues. And that Mind Bomb and It's a Wonderful Life was some freaky stuff. Then you got the Ben Reilly Spider-Man stuff. And his interactions with Carnage. Oh, and yeah, that's right. 410 is the Spider Carnage issue. Guys, I love me some Spider Carnage. Let's look at the cover of that. Love this cover so much. I used to have this graded. I can't remember if I had it in a 9.8, but Amazing Spider-Man 410, amazing cover. I really like that Ben Reilly Spider-Man costume. You don't really see much of it. I think it would look awesome in a statue, but I mean, shit, Spider-Carnage would be awesome in a statue. Yeah, see, the It's a Wonderful Life kind of painted Carnage as like a Joker figure. And it's gross, man. It's almost like the symbiote is like the meat inside of a corpse or something. It doesn't even look like how it looked when Bagley did it. Crazy stuff with this It's a Wonderful Life, man. Alright, next up we have the Spider-Man vs. Venom Omnibus. Guys, this is probably my most prized possession in the Omnibus collection. It's not the most valuable, but it contains the most nostalgic stuff for me. I know it says Spider-Man vs. Venom, and while it does include the first appearance of Venom in Amazing Spider-Man 300, it has the first arc in Amazing 315 and 316, but it has one of the first trade paperbacks that I ever purchased was Maximum Carnage. That's a 14-issue series that is totally collected in this omnibus for the first time ever in this oversized format. Now, when I say oversized, trade paperbacks are the same size as a regular comic book, but you can see with the omnibus format, they're taller and wider, so you have the artwork amplified. So I really love this omnibus. I'm a sucker for Maximum Carnage. As bad as the writing is, I love the artwork. I love the cast of characters that are in there, and it's just such a nostalgic read for me. So this is a must-own omnibus for a Venom collector, a Spider-Man fan, or a Carnage fan. So, similar to how the Carnage Classic trade paperback was a recolorized version of Amazing Spider-Man 362, the cover for the Spider-Man vs. Venom Omnibus is a recolored Amazing Spider-Man 316, Todd McFarlane, the first cover appearance of Venom. And you get this Venom issue. Man, what is that issue? Like 360? No, what is it? I can't remember that issue. Maybe we'll see it in here. The hardcover of this book has one of my most favorite gatefold posters of all time. This iconic Spider-Man vs. Venom and Carnage by Mark Bagley. I absolutely love it. I love how Bagley does Spider-Man's head. I love the beefy but not ripped Venom. He does the Carnage the right way with the tendrils that just look awesome. Really love this hardcover. Yeah, love this one, man. I mean, I doubt that you're really going to be a Carnage fan and not be a Venom fan, so you really can't go wrong with this book. But after we get away from the origins of Venom, it's just going to be... Alright, we're going to get into some Carnage stuff here shortly. Here we go. When you see Cloak and Dagger, you know you're in Maximum Carnage. They use that panel for the video game on Super Nintendo and Sega. Doppelganger, one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, so underused and underrated. So yeah, and what confused me as a kid, that's why I was happy when I had the trade paperback. They would tell this story over every Spider-Man title at the time. So you had Spider-Man Unlimited, Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man with no adjective in front of it, Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, with all different creative teams. But Maximum Carnage was the first big event for Carnage, and I guess really the last big event. Well, actually, I'm lying. Absolute Carnage is the next big event. But you have Shriek, Carnage, Demo Goblin. You have this kind of Avengers of villains, if you will. And then Spider-Man has to start working with a team of his own, which includes Cloak and Dagger, Captain America, Deathlock, Venom. That was the big thing. Dude, this guy looks just like Spawn. Yeah, Morbius even comes through. So I love Maximum Carnage. Love this cover. Definitely a must-read for Carnage fans. Lastly, we're going to talk about the Carnage Omnibus. So a lot of people might think that the material that I just covered was in this omnibus, but it's not. This is all the little Carnage miniseries that followed years after. This has a lot of Clayton Crane artwork, which is the cover of the dust jacket here. He does a lot of digitalized style artwork, and it collects, these 2010 miniseries from Carnage. It's Carnage Volume, it's Venom vs. Carnage 1 through 4, which is, I believe, the first Clayton Crane work on the symbiote stuff. Then you have Carnage 1 through 5. He had a small series in 2010, which was after all of the other material that I mentioned earlier. Carnage USA 1 through 5. Minimum Carnage Alpha and Omega with Scarlet Spider issues 10 through 11 and Venom 26 through 27. So this was a Spider-Man Venom Carnage event within the pages of Scarlet Spider Venom, and it had an Alpha and Omega with a play on the classic 90s event Maximum Carnage. Minimum Carnage, I mean, it wasn't great. Then you have Superior Carnage 1 through 5 with Annual 1. Deadpool vs. Carnage 1 through 4, which I think is also collected in one of the Deadpool mini-busts. You have Axis Carnage 1 through 3, Nova 26 and 27, which ties into the Axis stuff. Then Carnage 1 through 16, which was his ongoing series from 2015. I can't believe that's already 5 years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this stuff really is like what planted the seed for Absolute Carnage. I mean, I know Donny Cates came on later on and really just took these origins and made something out of it. I feel like the whole Cult of Carnage stuff is all from here. Anyway, we'll flip through it. We'll take a look at the artwork and get a better idea of what the volumes are. For me, this is the least important one if you want to know where to read Carnage. I mean, these stories are okay. Some of them are pretty gruesome. I remember the Carnage symbiote coming out of the tub in that city. I forget if that's Carnage 1 through 5 or it might be Carnage USA. So let's flip through it just so I can kind of remember a little bit as well. This is not really essential Carnage reading, in my opinion. If you're a die-hard Carnage fan, you might want to jump into this. If you're a Clayton Crane fan, you might want to jump into this. But this book, to me, is really kind of like, what has Carnage been up to since Maximum Carnage? You know, that's kind of the vibe that I get from this kind of omnibus that collects multiple miniseries. Actual hardcover has the same graphics as the dust jacket. So let's jump into this thing and see what it collects. You know, I mentioned all the little mini-series here, but we'll take a look at them. I'm sure it'll jog some of your guys' memory. I do love the artwork and the covers on this this Venom vs. Carnage 4-part mini-series. It's more of a digital look, way different than the Mark Bagley stuff that we were just looking at. I think this ends up becoming the first appearance of Toxin in one of these issues. Yeah, there's Toxin right there. And I think his deal was he was like the first good guy symbiote. Oh, you got some Sentry action. I think he's a police officer that ends up becoming Toxin. Alright, so this jumps into kind of like a Carnage reboot. I don't really remember. I read this as it was coming out. Oh, Doppelganger back in effect. Yeah, so Carnage number 1. I remember this Iron Man and Spider-Man cover. I guess it's Clayton Crane as well, right? Yeah, and I guess it's kind of like the same thing as Lethal Protector. Like in the Life Foundation, you have these kind of like symbiote wearers. The artwork is pretty cool, though. That Shriek makes a return. Then Carnage USA was like a follow-up mini-series, and I think he was just, you know, on a killing spree across America or something like that. I don't really remember the specifics. I read it. I had it as single issues when it was coming out. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what even happens here. Okay, then this is Minimum Carnage. Man, I was so happy. Right when I got back into comics, it was the time when Rick Remender was doing Agent Venom. And then after Spider Island, Kane came back as Scarlet Spider, this guy. And I was so stoked to get that character back because I was just getting back into comics and it seemed like all these characters that I grew up with were coming back. So I was really hyped about that. This is the Deadpool 4-issue miniseries. You kind of know what to expect when it comes to that. And then you have the most recent ongoing. I'm trying to remember what the hell happens. Is it with John Jameson and stuff? Yeah, with the whole Book of Carnage or Book of whatever that was used as, like I said, kind of roots for Absolute Carnage. But he had a little ongoing going on there for a minute. Alright, there you have it, guys. It looks like Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage is going to hit theaters June 25th of 2021. I cannot believe they're promoting this now, and it's over a year away. I'm really wondering what they're going to do for this Venom sequel, right? Because in the first Venom, you know, Tom Hardy did a good job. It was an okay movie. They did Riot. I'm surprised they did the Riot stuff first, because now it's kind of like, where do we go from here? It's another symbiote villain, although Cletus Kasady is much more sadistic, serial killer, and Woody Harrelson looks like he's going to really pour himself into the role. But what else can they do? I guess, man, if they focus on Cletus and his childhood and becoming a serial killer, they could do something with that. And I know Carnage, the symbiote, is going to stand out a lot more than Riot, because he's going to be blood red, whereas Riot was like a similar color to Venom, and they kind of really, didn't really mesh well on screen together. It was kind of like a big blob of blue and black. So the Venom red symbiote should be a nice touch. Let me know what you guys think about the video in the comments below. Was this a helpful kind of idea of where to start reading Carnage? I also want to hear what your thoughts are on Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, and what do you think they're going to do for the movie and how that's going to turn out. Like I said, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You can hit the gem on the left. Go ahead and hit the Recent Reads playlist on the right so you can get a breakdown of other comics that I read and review, which includes collected editions like this, single issues, trade paperbacks, and more. Most importantly, you guys stay minty fresh. Peace.